Welcome! Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating chapter from the early life of a man who would one day completely reshape a nation. We're going to focus on a time when his greatest weapons weren't cannons or rifles, but ink and paper.
So before he was this legendary leader, he was just a student facing a choice that would define not only his own destiny, but the future of an entire empire. Now, before we really dive in, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on those notifications, and share and like my videos. All the information we're covering today is compiled from open sources. Thank you so much for that. Okay, let's get into it.
All right, picture this. It's 1902. We're inside the most prestigious military institution in the entire Ottoman Empire. This was the place designed to forge the absolute sharpest military minds of the generation. That year, only 37, that's right, just 37 elite young officers made the cut for the Ottoman Staff College in Istanbul. And right there among them was a brilliant, incredibly intense cadet named Mustafa Kemal.
You've got to understand, this wasn't just any military school. It was basically the crucible for the empire's future brain trust. These were the guys, the strategists, who were expected to somehow save a crumbling state from total collapse. No pressure, right?
And what they were learning went way beyond simple battlefield commands. We're talking high-level strategy, deep geopolitical analysis. Kemal was mastering the very tools of nation-building. He was soaking up ideas that would let him not just win a war, but actually build a brand new state from the ashes of the old one.
But here's the thing. For Mustafa Kemal, the biggest enemy wasn't some foreign army across the border. No, it was right at home. It was the suffocating Istibdat regime, this period of really strict autocratic rule under the Sultan. And Kemal believed the sharpest weapon against it wasn't a sword, but an idea.
And this really gets to the heart of his thinking. He knew that any real revolution had to start in the mind before it could ever succeed on the battlefield.
So, in the shadows of the academy, knowing the Sultan's spies were literally everywhere, he and his most trusted friends kicked off this incredibly dangerous new campaign. They weren't using rifles. They were using a secret, handwritten newspaper.
Well, they were eventually found out by the school's director, a man named Reza Pasha, who then faced this huge choice. He could do his duty and arrest them, or he could see their patriotism for what it was. He chose the latter, and instead of ruining their careers, he let them off with a really stern warning.
But getting off easy like that came with a price. They were now marked men. You can bet the eyes of the palace were watching every single move they made. Okay, let's fast forward to January 11th, 1905. This was supposed to be the day all their hard work was meant to pay off.
And at first, it was. Mustafa Kemal graduates 5th in his class. He earns that coveted rank of staff captain. I mean, his future as a brilliant officer in the Ottoman army looks totally secure.
But that feeling of triumph, it lasted for just moments. An informant, a former classmate who had worked his way into their inner circle, reported everything they were doing directly to the palace.
So instead of a celebratory dinner, Kemal and his friends were arrested. They were thrown into the infamous Bekirağa, Bölüğü, a dark, stone political prison. This place was reserved for the Sultan's most dangerous enemies.
For months, his fate just hung in the balance. But those dark days in that cell, they didn't break him. Not at all. They forged his resolve. They steeled his character for the unbelievable struggles that were still to come.
This timeline just shows how incredibly fast his entire world flipped upside down. The palace decided he was too clever, too charismatic, and way too dangerous to keep in the capital. So his punishment wasn't going to be a long prison term, it was exile to a remote outpost in Damascus.
You know, as he was being escorted to the ship that would carry him away, his captors really believed they were sending him into total obscurity, a nobody, forgotten by history. Oh, how wrong they were.
That right there, that wasn't a statement of defeat. It was a promise. It was the very first declaration of a vision that would one day create the modern Republic of Turkey.